how do you communicate this to, let's say there is an organization the size of 10,000 people or 2,000 or whatever. Now, these are the values the organization has built, and that they will not do certain things that are not right. And that needs to percolate down to somebody who's just joined the organization out of college, or someone who is 30 years into the organization as well. What kind of how important is that? In language that people can understand, because these days you talked about jargons like stakeholders.
Right.
I think it's so difficult for some people perceive stakeholders as just the top management is what I've seen elsewhere as well. So how important is communication, and how can one get it right?
I mean, it's such a good question, right? And I think a lot of companies, let's go back to corruption's a very good example to be discussing this whole topic. A lot of companies say we have zero tolerance for corruption, in their codes of conduct. We're not paying bribes, we're not taking bribes. What you actually need to do, I think, is to go to your employees and say, how can we help you succeed? If you're running into problems, you're running into your competitor undermining you, you're running into government officials seeking bribes, we need to know about that. And so it's not enough to have a rule. It's not enough to have zero tolerance. If you do this, you're going to get fired. You also need to kind of meet the employees where they are. You need to pay a lot of attention, I think, to people and functions that are really at the front line. Another problem I think you see is that there tends to be one-size-fits-all training. So you do some kind of online Zoom training. It's boring as hell. I think the other thing that you've kind of mentioned here, I mean, we're just talking about VW. So these kind of goals to win at all costs, no matter what, are a big part of what goes wrong. That's a big part of what went wrong for VW. They had this ambition to be number one in America with these vehicles. And so that's the first thing, is the kind of incentives and direction from senior leadership. The second thing I think that really goes wrong is senior leadership has plausible deniability. After the VW scandal comes to light, the first thing that happens is the CEO goes in front of a mic and is like, I have no idea how this happened. Must have just been a few software engineers who just woke up one day and decided to fudge these emission tests. I don't think so. I think that's how it works. So what you tend to have at the top is a group of people behave as if the rules don't apply to them, and then have plausible deniability. I just told that person to hit their sales targets. I didn't tell them to pay a bribe. I'm not responsible for that. And then you can kind of blame the problem on bad apples. You can delegate the problem down. You can get the poor person that actually paid the bribe in a lot of trouble. And you at the leadership are just like, I had no idea they were going to do that. I think you see a lot of problems when senior leadership acts as if the rules don't apply to them, and senior leadership doesn't take accountability for these kind of decisions and the way they set up their governance and design their strategy and so on.